We've all felt it at some point. A single thought crosses your mind and suddenly, your whole day seems to shift around it. Sometimes it's just a vague worry, but it weighs down your mood and colors everything in a negative light. Other times, one uplifting memoria, kind word, a warm moment can make the world feel lighter, softer, and easier to breathe in. That's not a coincidence. There's a familiar yet profound teaching from the Buddha that says, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." What does that really mean? It means our mind is like fertile soil. Whatever we plant in it will grow. If we keep feeding it with positive, kind, grateful, and loving thoughts, our lives will reflect that same energy. But if we constantly feed it anger, doubt, or blame, then suffering keeps showing up again and again, without end. The mind doesn't choose what to absorb. It simply reflects what we allow in. And little by little, those everyday thoughts, though invisible, are quietly shaping how we live, how we feel, and what we attract into our lives. So, how do we cultivate a mind that is peaceful, positive, and wise? In this video, we'll explore 8 powerful lessons from Buddhist teachings practices that are simple yet deeply transformative to help you train your mind, build inner strength, and truly begin to see the beauty in life starting from within. 1. Visualize your goals as already achieved. Have you ever imagined yourself being calm, compassionate, and patient not just when life is smooth, but even when it gets messy? Like when someone you care about says something hurtful, or when nothing seems to go your way. Can you picture yourself still able to smile gently, stay grounded, and respond with understanding? It's not just a lovely dream, it's actually a very meaningful practice in Buddhism known as bhavana, or mental cultivation. And one of its most powerful tools is visualization. But not the kind of fantasy where you escape reality. This is about planting seeds in your mind, seeds of who you wish to become. In Tibetan Buddhist tradition, practitioners often spend hours meditating while visualizing themselves as compassionate beings like Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of compassion. Not because they believe they are a bodhisattva, but because they are training their minds to develop those very qualities. They picture the feeling, the expression, the calm breath day after day until their hearts begin to soften and grow more patient. Now imagine this. Each morning, you sit for just a few quiet minutes. You close your eyes and see yourself moving through the day with ease, speaking gently, listening without rushing, facing challenges without falling apart because there's space inside you to breathe, to choose, to respond wisely. Just a few moments like that can become an inner compass for your entire day. And the science backs it up. Neuroscience shows that when we vividly visualize an action with feeling and detail, our brain activates in nearly the same way as if we were actually doing it, which means visualization helps make those qualities real. It's like planting a tree. You can't force it to grow overnight, but if you water it, give it sunlight, and tend to it every day, it will bloom. Your mind is no different. When you consistently visualize yourself as grounded, kind, and resilient, your brain begins to believe it, and before long, in your daily life, you'll find yourself pausing instead of reacting. You'll respond with grace instead of frustration. The Buddha said, "With our minds, we create the world." Every action, every word begins as a single thought. And when we plant thoughts of patience, compassion, and understanding, our lives begin to carry those same qualities. And here's something important to remember. You don't need to be perfect to begin. Just the act of visualizing kindness in yourself is already part of the practice. So tomorrow morning, before the rush of the day starts, try this. Sit down, close your eyes, and picture yourself calm, steady, open-hearted. Live each day from that image, and watch your mind slowly become the sanctuary for everything you truly value. Because what you imagine today may just be who you truly become tomorrow. 2. Turning off autopilot reactions. Have you ever had this happen? Someone says something that gets under your skin, and before you even realize it, you've snapped back. Or maybe it's something small. Traffic, losing your phone, someone forgetting a promise, and suddenly your whole mood flares up. In those moments, it almost feels like we're not choosing our reactions. We're just repeating old patterns, automatic, familiar, unconscious. In Buddhism, this is what we call habitual mind living life on autopilot, where past wounds and conditioned responses drive how we show up in the present. Imagine it like this: a dusty old radio that keeps playing the same song over and over even though you don't like it anymore. That's how most of us live, letting old fears, old anger, and old habits color how we experience the world today. But here's the good news. Buddhism teaches that we can turn that autopilot off. With mindfulness, that quiet moment-to-moment awareness, you start to notice, oh, I'm getting angry. Oh, I'm about to react the same old way. And right there, in that tiny moment of recognition, you have a choice. You don't have to be perfect. Just pause. Take a breath. Notice the emotion rising, but don't rush to act on it. Then, choose a new response, one that's gentler, wiser, more compassionate. A meditation teacher once said, "The moment you know you're angry, you're no longer fully controlled by your anger." That's the first step toward freedom. In years of working with older Buddhist practitioners here in the US, one thing I've often seen is regret over moments of quick reaction that cause deep hurt. Sometimes it took years to repair those bonds. But what's beautiful is, the same people, once they began practicing mindfulness, learned how to pause before reacting. And that alone changed everything. Not because others changed, but because they chose a different response, one with more awareness, more compassion, and more inner space. The mind is like a river. When the waters are stirred up, you can't see the bottom. But if you let things settle, the clarity returns. And each time you respond differently, even once, you plant a seed of peace. Over time, those old habits fade, and a calmer, clearer mind takes root. It begins with one small step. Just pause before you react. That one breath, that one moment might change not just your day, but your whole life. 3. Letting go to be free. Have you ever carried something inside you that just wouldn't let go? Maybe it was an old sorrow, a relationship that's no longer what it used to be, a lingering expectation of someone you love, or even of yourself. Even though time has passed, the weight is still there, sitting heavy in the heart. Most of us have clung to something at some point, believing, if I hold on tight enough, maybe I won't lose it. But imagine this. You're holding a handful of dry sand. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips through your fingers. But if you open your hands, softly the sand stays still. Letting go doesn't mean you stop loving. It doesn't mean you deny the pain. It means choosing not to let it bind your heart anymore. In the Buddhist teachings, one of the deepest roots of suffering is attachment and craving to grasp, to hold, to keep things exactly the way we want them. But as you already know, life is always changing. People grow up, move on. Our bodies age. Memories fade. Nothing stays the same. And if we try to hold it all in place, we're the ones who end up exhausted. I remember an older practitioner once shared that she spent years trying to keep her children close, living the way she thought was right. But the more she held on, the more distant they became. Eventually, she let go of expectations of needing to be needed. And something unexpected happened. her heart felt lighter. And slowly, her children began to return not out of obligation, but out of love. Letting go isn't cold. It's the warmest kind of loved one that isn't bound by control. It says, I trust what's meant to stay will stay, even if I stop clinging. You can start with something small. A lingering resentment from yesterday. A wish for the past to return. A word left unsaid. Just take a deep breath and gently remind yourself, I can let this go not for anyone else, but for my own peace. The Buddha once said, letting go is not loss, it's freedom. Letting go is how we reclaim space inside ourselves, to live fully in the present instead of being trapped in the past. And when the mind is freed from clinging, something beautiful happens. You stop being pulled by what was, or chained by what might never be. You begin to walk a little lighter, breathe a little deeper. Each step, each breath brings you home to yourself. Letting go isn't weakness, it's strength. The strength to say, I choose peace over control. And perhaps that's the greatest freedom we can ever give ourselves. 4. Thoughts are the seeds of reality. Have you ever wondered how two people can face the exact same situation yet respond so differently? One person sees a rainy day as miserable traffic jams, wet clothes, inconvenience. But another person sees it as a blessing. The earth is nourished, the trees come alive, and the soul gets a chance to slow down. Same reality, two very different minds leading to two completely different worlds. In Buddhism, this isn't surprising at all. The Buddha once said, with mind as the forerunner, all things are created by the mind. In other words, every thought is a seed, and the kind of seed you plant in your mind shapes the life you end up living. Imagine your mind as a garden. If you plant seeds of compassion, patience, and gratitude, over time, that garden will bloom. You'll live in the space of gentleness, warm relationships, and a calm heart. But if you let seeds of anger, jealousy, or anxiety fall in and grow wild, it won't take long before your garden is full of thorns. Life will start to feel tight, restless, even lonely. Here's the key. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can choose which thoughts we nurture. There was an older Buddhist practitioner who once said that for years she lived in blaming others, blaming herself, blaming life. She felt constantly exhausted. People avoided being around her because her energy felt so heavy. Then, after a short meditation retreat, she decided to start each morning with a simple commitment. Today, I will choose kind thoughts. It wasn't always easy, but whenever she caught her mind falling back into blame, she paused. And instead, she focused on one small thing to be grateful for, like a warm cup of tea, a phone call from a friend, or her grandchild's smile. Within a few months, she felt lighter. And something beautiful happened. Her family began visiting more often. The atmosphere in her home softened. Our thoughts, no matter how small, send out invitations for the kind of energy we'll experience. Think positively, and you'll start seeing the good. Think negatively, and you'll find more reasons to feel low. Not because the world changes, but because your lens changes. So each day is a new chance to choose which seeds you'll plant in your mind. Start small. I'm grateful to be breathing. I will listen with a gentle heart. It doesn't need to be grand. Even one tiny seed, when watered each day, can grow into something beautiful. And when you care for that inner garden, your life becomes more peaceful, and you start sharing that peace with the people around you. Because it all starts in the mind. When the mind is at peace, life feels at peace too. 5. Practicing gratitude daily. Have you ever had one of those days where everything just feels off? You wake up feeling low, look around, and nothing seems worth smiling about. Maybe the sky is gray, your back aches a little, the bills are piling up, and you sigh thinking, there's just nothing good today. But now, imagine this. Someone sitting quietly in a chair, holding a warm cup of tea. Morning sunlight peeks through the window. Birds are singing softly outside. And they smile not because anything amazing happened, but simply because they feel grateful to be alive. That feeling is gratitude. In the Buddhist teachings, gratitude isn't just a fleeting emotion, it's a spiritual practice, a way to clear the mind and lighten the heart. Because when we practice gratitude, we come home to the present moment. And from that place, we start to notice there's so much to treasure all around us. We just usually rush past it without realizing. During a meditation session, a woman in her 70s once shared, "I don't really feel excited about life anymore. The kids are busy, friends are fewer, my health isn't what it used to be. I just feel empty." The teacher smiled gently and suggested, "Each morning, just name 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small." Months later, she returned with the same face, but softer eyes. She said some mornings, the only thing she could name was, "My blanket is still warm. I'm still able to make my own breakfast." But slowly, her heart softened. She no longer wished for big things. She simply felt enough with what she already had. You see, gratitude doesn't need perfect conditions. It begins with realizing, I'm still breathing. I still have eyes to see the sun. I still have someone I can call, even if it's just a short chat. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha described a grateful person as someone with a noble heart who is never alone. Why? Because a grateful heart is always connected to life, to others, and to the self. Gratitude is also a natural antidote to anxiety. When the heart feels heavy with what's missing, gratitude helps us remember what's already here. Maybe today your body feels tired, but your heart still beats. The birds are still singing, and you still have a quiet moment to hear these words. So if every morning you spend just a few moments noticing something you're grateful for, your whole day shifts. Not because the outside world changed, but because your inner world did. Gratitude isn't magic, but practiced regularly, it can feel magical. And here's the most beautiful part. Gratitude can be practiced at any age. But it becomes even more powerful the older we get when we realize that joy doesn't come from having more, but from deeply treasuring what's still in our hands. 6. Transforming challenges into opportunities. Have you ever asked yourself this? Why do difficulties keep showing up one after another? Just when things seem okay, something else happens, loss, illness, family conflict, and it all leaves you feeling tired, maybe even hopeless. Now imagine this. You're paddling a small boat in a fast-flowing river. You can't control the current, but you can learn to hold the steering steady and let the boat glide as smoothly as possible. That's how Buddhism views life's challenges. The Buddha never promised that spiritual practice would take suffering away. What he taught was this: suffering is part of life, but within that suffering lies a chance to wake up. At a small monastery in northern India, I once heard a story about a young monk who was deeply frustrated. He felt he was being treated unfairly, given harder tasks than others, rarely praised, often misunderstood. His initial response was anger. He withdrew, shut down. But an elder monk quietly said to him, "They're helping you train your mind. If everyone treated you kindly, how would you ever learn patience? If everyone understood you, how would you learn compassion?" That moment completely changed how the young monk saw things. And you know, life sends us those same teachers. They don't wear robes. They don't sit on teaching thrones. Sometimes they show up as a difficult neighbor, a stubborn child, or even chronic pain. Each challenge carries a quiet invitation. Step back. Look deeper. Soften instead of hardening. Open your heart instead of shutting down. In Buddhist teachings, there's a beautiful concept called the truth of suffering, the first of the Four Noble Truths. It tells us that pain is real. But the Buddha didn't stop there. He taught that when we understand suffering deeply, it no longer becomes a burden, but a path toward wisdom. Think back to the hardest times in your life. Weren't those the moments you learned how to let go, how to be more patient, how to open your heart in ways you never thought possible? It's in those moments when we have nothing left to cling to that we often discover a strength we didn't know we had. No one grows in comfort, and no one finds real peace without walking through real pain. The key is to find a new perspective so we're not crushed by challenges, but shaped by them. Like a lotus rising through the mud, yet untouched by it. So if you're in a tough season right now, ask yourself, what is this challenge here to teach me? Can I treat myself and others with more gentleness because of it? When suffering is seen with wisdom and an open heart, it becomes the beginning of something new. A journey that may be rough at times, but brings you closer to true freedom and deep compassion. 7. Choosing what you feed your mind. Have you ever noticed how what we watch, read, and listen to each day quietly shapes how we see the world? Some mornings, you scroll through negative news, heated arguments online, and suddenly, the whole day feels heavy-even, though nothing actually went wrong. The human mind is incredibly sensitive. It's like a sponge soaking up whatever you place next to it. In Buddhism, this is why we're taught to guard the sense doors, to be mindful of what enters through the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, body, and mind. Imagine this. You're tending a beautiful garden. You wouldn't dump garbage into it, water it with dirty water, or let weeds overrun it. So why are we so casual about what we allow into our inner gardener mind? I once heard a story from an older practitioner. She used to keep the television running all day, war coverage, crime stories, talk shows full of arguments. "I just want to stay informed," she'd say. But over time, she noticed growing anxiety, sleep issues, irritability with her grandchildren, all from content she thought was harmless. After attending a short retreat, she decided to change. Instead of watching the news first thing, she listened to a short Dharma talk. At lunch, she stepped outside, tended her plants, listened to birdsong instead of online complaints. In the evening, she read gentle books or meditated for a few quiet minutes. And you know what she said after a month? "I still live in the same world, but my mind feels completely different." These days, we're bombarded with negativity, conflict, and images that steal our hope. But the Buddha taught, the mind is shaped by its conditions. Choose wisely, and your mind will bloom. So why not begin refining your inner environment? You can start small. Instead of reading divisive posts, choose words of kindness and wisdom. Instead of noise and drama, listen to calming music or the wind in the trees. Instead of anxious images, rest your eyes on something gently flower, a smiling child, an elder walking with grace. The mind, when fed with light and goodness, will reflect that in your thoughts, words, and actions. And here's the magic: when your mind finds peace, the world feels more peaceful, too. The Buddha once said, "Just as the earth does not resent what is thrown upon it, let your mind be vast and steady like the earth." But to grow a vast and steady mind, we first need to keep it clean by mindfully choosing what we let in every single day. So tomorrow morning, ask yourself, What will I allow into my mind today? And over time, you'll see those small choices, repeated each day, can change the entire course of your life. 8. Nurturing compassion for yourself. Have you ever treated yourself like your own worst enemy? Blaming yourself for past mistakes, comparing yourself to others, pushing yourself to stay strong, to be okay, even when deep down you're exhausted? Now imagine this. A close friend comes to you after a terrible day. They feel ashamed, lost. They made a mistake and feel like a failure. Would you scold them? Or would you gently say, "It's okay. Everyone has moments like this. I'm here with you." So here's the question. Why is it so hard to say those same words to ourselves? In Buddhist teachings, compassion met isn't just for others. It begins right here with ourselves. Why? Because if we don't know how to hold our own pain gently, we can't truly hold anyone else's either. It's like trying to pour from an empty cuppa, trying to comfort others when our own heart is still wounded. Real healing starts with how we treat ourselves. I remember an older practitioner once shared after a meditation session, "All my life, I took care of my husband, my children, everyone else. But I never once asked myself, am I okay?" That simple sentence left the whole room silent, because so many of us saw ourselves in it. Especially as we age, we often carry the weight of all the should-haves. I should have done better. I shouldn't have said that. I should have tried harder. But somewhere in all those shoulds, we forget one simple truth. We're human. We make mistakes. We get tired. We feel pain. And we deserve kindness, especially from ourselves. The Buddha never told us to be perfect. He taught that all beings can awaken, but that path begins with understanding and compassion for ourselves. Sometimes, healing starts with just one small gesture. Sitting down, placing a hand over your heart, and softly saying, "Even if I didn't do everything right today, I'm still worthy of love." That's when the seed of healing gets planted. One beautiful way to practice this is through metta meditation. It's simple, yet powerful. Close your eyes, breathe, and silently repeat, "May I be at peace. May I be healthy. May I be free from suffering." At first, it might feel awkward, but slowly, something begins to shift. The harsh inner voice softens. A gentle warmth starts to ground out loud, but real. Self-compassion doesn't mean making excuses. It means recognizing, I'm hurting, and I deserve to heal before I try to help others. And as you practice this, day by day, you'll find yourself less shaken by outside criticism, less desperate to prove yourself, more grounded, more peaceful even in the ups and downs of life. So if today you're feeling tired, if you feel like you're not enough, pause, take a deep breath, and quietly whisper to yourself, "I'm here, I understand, and I won't abandon myself." Because sometimes the one we need most is not someone else coming to save us, but ourselves turning inward, sitting quietly, and staying. And when we live this way, when we care for our thoughts, choose what we feed our mind, let go, feel gratitude, and treat ourselves with loving kindness, we start to see it clearly. The mind is fertile soil. What you plant, you grow. If each day you plant seeds of compassion, mindfulness, and peace, each moment becomes deeper, softer, more alive. And the beautiful truth is, you can begin again anytime with one kind thought, one mindful breath, one small, wise choice. You can change the direction of your day or even your life. The world will still be noisy, messy, imperfect, but a mind tended with love and wisdom becomes the safest, calmest place to return to. Dear friend, if today's message spoke to your heart, if it helped you feel even a little lighter, more connected to yourself, then please consider subscribing to BUDDHISM Seeds, liking this video, sharing it with someone you love, and leaving a comment below so we can continue this journey of inner peace together. Because every act of compassion plants a seed, and the more we plant, the less suffering there is in the world. And you can be the one to start planting beginning right now.